Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good. Oh, I didn't even turn on. Man, you know what? I'm like on autopilot this morning for some reason. I don't know what my problem is, but like I'm forgetting all these things. I didn't turn on the camera. I didn't like, oh my gosh, come on here. All right, so let's fix that. There we go. Let's play the music. All right, so coming in here this morning, they are just selling the crap these treasuries. Like, that is, well, okay, you come over to the chart. I mean, you just look at the ZN. It's like, it's getting destroyed. Also, what is wrong with my workspace here? Fix that. Fix that first. Okay, so let's come over to a volume profile chart. Try and sort out what's going. Okay, so the treasuries are back to those lows. Got some manufacturing data today. Had a lot of, okay earnings last night. Here's the S&P 500, bouncing on those earnings and giving it up in the pre-market. Oil continues to just run. Natural gas not really doing anything too interesting. Gold giving up yesterday's gains. Silver as well. Copper also kind of pulling back here. Interesting. And what's going on? Well, the dollar. The dollar's looking strong again, 102. Bitcoin falling. So, I mean, I think the play is to just go short the treasuries, but I noticed yesterday that the book in ZN was extra thick and today it is extra thin. Any insight as to why? No, I'm almost positive that it was because of the end of month trade, right? Which by the way, we totally had right. Because they kept going a good 3 basis points more after I left yesterday. So, it could have been a $50 trade for me yesterday if I was to trade longer. But the other thing that was interesting, if I can, well, I think I would need to really zoom in on yesterday. Yes. Okay, so if we zoom in on yesterday, this is the 10-year treasury. Okay. So we got out somewhere in here, in this area, okay? Continued a little bit further. Now notice there was a little bit of a sell-off going into the close, but then after the close, the close being like the pit close, not the S&P 500 close, but the pit close, right? Big sell, and then sell off after that. And it just kind of like dropped. So I think what was going on is that there was some end of month buying, and then once that end of month buying was done, the pressure was just completely gone and it slumped back down. And I think that that's what's happening here this morning as well, is that like the end of the month was the only thing holding them back, and now it is let us push yields as hard as we can to pressure the Bank of Japan. I think that's kind of what's going on here, because I don't really get any. Yeah, so if I come back to News Squawk here, a session of fern games thus far for the dollar amid the broader risk aversion across the market, coupled with continued weakness in the Japanese yen against major peers. Traditional havens are also on the back foot against the dollar, but to a lesser extent versus non-US dollar counterparts, JPY continues to feel headwinds following the Bank of Japan policy decision and subsequent off-schedule bond purchases conducted yesterday. US Treasuries are more mixed with the short end bid and long end soft, though magnitudes are relatively minimal and yield perspective, it is only yielding very modest curve flattening. But that was before our sell-off here, right? So, like, there's nothing in the news that makes me, that, like, really sets off any red flags for me. The lead story on Zero Hedge right now is debt tsunami begins U.S. to sell $1 trillion in debt this quarter, second highest in history as budget deficit explodes. Yeah, because what's been going on is the Biden administration has kind of found a way to run things hot and keep stimulus going when we all kind of thought that it was over. And so now, over the next few quarters and year, they're going to have to issue massive amounts of issuance, and it's going to just destroy yields, I think. Yeah. I don't know if it's if summer officially started, Lucas, because there's so much going on this week. We've got PMIs and all of that stuff, and then we've got so many major companies reporting earnings right now. So no, people aren't on vacation yet. That's like, 2 weeks from now. Then everybody goes on vacation. So yeah. Oh my gosh. So, like, the play is go short the treasuries, but, like, it is not. It is just going without you, I thought I was going to get 3990, and then it, like, look at the way it plunged there. Well. I don't like that. I think the market just saved me from myself there. So I put an order out, it didn't get filled. There's some fishy stuff going on around here. There actually was a decent amount of buying in through here too, which I don't like. I'm getting all these headlines, US 10-year yields break 4%, but I'm sitting here like, okay, which month? Because they're not doing it on the September one or the August one. By the way, good morning, Amir. Speaking of the book being thin, though, there was a 4K offer being put out there. And that's very, very early in the session as well. So I think that the big players are still out there. Although they may be trying to play a game. Okay, I decided to take it. Yeah, we'll have to see. Will this weakness be able to persist? I have to say, this is like really aggressive early selling today, right? There's maybe been a little bit of pushback, but they're still sitting there at the lows. So I don't know. I feel like I got filled a little bit too easily on that, but I'm kind of worried. Well, should I say worried? Something that could happen here is because the treasuries are moving like this so early, and I'm already seeing like headlines about it and so forth, that it could be, you know, all of the traders just come in today and just go ham on it, you know? Like it's doing enough interesting stuff at the beginning that this could very quickly become a bandwagon trade. But there's still some pushback here, so be... Yeah, I think the Japanese yen is probably a key driver here. Okay, interesting. So those few ticks up wouldn't really be a big deal, but the way that the volume came out and everything has me wondering. Ticked down in the bid hold on 01. Ticks down 01. Doesn't hold. Now they're eating into 0.5. And by the way, that all happened on like no volume. Hey, well, welcome back. My back is not feeling so hot this morning. I'm tempted to stand up and go and get my foam roller and try and fix it. Okay. They go offer it evens for a moment. Still not really seeing the volume come in. Oh no, NASA is hunting deep space for Voyager 2 after flight controllers accidentally sent a wrong command that cut contact with the spacecraft, which has been traveling through space since 1977. Are you kidding me? Dude, if you lose Voyager 2, you're enjoying 3 weeks of vacation in Portugal? Really? Oh. I was, when we were just talking earlier, I was saying that I don't think that everybody's on vacation quite yet, but the wealth talk is apparently. No trader bite from Futures Trader 71 today. Oh, he is sick, it looks like. Okay. I wouldn't say it's super explicit yet, but we are kind of getting that liquidity hole type back and forth at 0.0 half, right? I'd say the book still looks pretty active, though. Been through an 18-hour drive from Switzerland. Oh. Wait, so where do you live? Do you live in Switzerland? Oh, really? So I'm just kind of going back through Zero Hedge and saying, okay, what headlines have they got? Big drop in cardboard box sales scream recession. Well, you know what? I have plenty of boxes in my garage. Like, I have so much, I think that we're gonna put them in the car and just take it to the dump rather than waiting for the recycling, because it's just getting insane. And they're telling me that cardboard sales dropped. I don't know. Zero Hedge is very much saying that optimism in a soft landing is premature. I don't feel like it's premature. I feel like that if we're going to get a soft landing, now is the time to act. But we are not out of the woods yet, right? So premature is probably the wrong words. Okay, I finally got an excursion my way in a new low. Let's instead say that we are at a key decision point. The decision is maybe probably already made, but it's impossible for us to tell at the moment what it is. Oh, you live in Switzerland. I think you're the first person that's been like a regular that I can recall explicitly coming from Switzerland. I remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about taxes over there, because somebody was saying something about the taxes in Switzerland. And it was like, no, I don't think that's right. But I can't remember what it was. I don't know. I see creators on TikTok all the time say all sorts of crazy stuff that I just think is so wrong. There's a nice iceberg there at 31. I mean, they are able to make it go offer. On the spreads are a little bit mixed. It looks like it maybe is flattening, but the 10-year is lagging the 30 a little bit. Okay, they are able to make 30 half go offer as well, if only briefly. Banks take the lead in establishing personal social credit system, critics charge. Yeah. Isn't that what we've always been warned about? Yeah. Jimmy Oriole, the only thing that has been consistent through the public career of Joe Biden is his very casual relationship with the truth. He was quite literally run out of at least 2 presidential elections because of his lying. Yeah. It is what people have always denied is going to happen. Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. Like I said, like I always say, incentives seem to predict behavior better than ideology. And the sad state of technology and social media today is that the systems don't have any way of saying this person is going to tell the truth or do what we tell them to, and this person's not. And if you want to create these algorithms that are, scraping and making decisions from what people say online, you have to be able to make those kinds of judgments. Ergo, I say it's inevitable that some sort of a social credit system of sorts emerges. Yeah, I think it was I think there was 2 times we were talking about the Swiss, and one was with the capital gains. That you don't pay capital gains in Switzerland for the most part. But there was something else where somebody was saying that that there was actually a really high tax rate in Switzerland, and I'm like, I don't think so. But you know what? I find Switzerland to be kind of an interesting enigma, because it's generally thought of as, at least in the United States, as like the most right wing of the European nations, but it's really not right wing. It's I would say it's very left leaning. It's left leaning, but it's also kind of libertarian, I would say. It's kind of weird. So it's just like you cannot take the American political system and political parties and political beliefs and try and place those on top of Switzerland and try and look at Switzerland with that lens, because it's just so different. Which presents challenges when trying to say, okay, what is a good tax system, etc., etc., etc. Although, here's the other weird thing about that conversation, though, is that the U.S. is already an outlier in the way that we tax, in that we have the most progressive tax system in the world. And the thing that the politicians are always telling us is that our tax system isn't progressive enough. It's the most progressive in the world, then it's not progressive enough. It's like, okay. Man, they are having a really hard time. So they're not hitting the lows. Like, I'm not seeing the orders really hit into 30 yet, but they are having a really hard time getting 30 have to go bid, or getting any kind of a bid through here. So there's 4% in August contract. I don't know what the full Treasury contract is at the moment. The brightly flashing X sign has been removed from San Francisco headquarters of the company formerly known as Twitter just days after it was installed. Unsurprising. You know what? So I had a thought about Elon Musk yesterday. Tell me if I'm off track here. It seems to me that there are thousands of people in positions of power all across the country that make decisions on a daily basis that affect the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, and regularly make decisions in a way that are just, absolutely stupid. And nobody ever hears about it. And, people keep saying that Elon Musk is stupid. I don't think it's that he's stupid. I think it's that one person just cannot wield that much power effectively. And it's just because he's in the limelight that we all look at everything that he does and is like, oh man, he's so dumb. Right? I think that people in power make dumb decisions like this all the time and nobody notices. Although it does seem to me that Elon Musk is a little bit childish to some extent. Like he always wants to use names that are like 420 and stuff like that, right? Okay, so now a little bit trading at 29. But this thing is just not backing off at all. So when I was looking at the yen, we could come to a bigger chart here. Hold on a second. I need to add an indicator on here. Okay. So I recall people pointing out 145 on the USD JPY. So the opposite of what we get on the 6J as like a key point. So you can see here before that was where the Japanese did some intervention and eventually we did get things to come back a little bit, right? So are we headed back to 145? Maybe, but that's really far away. So I don't really have anything on the Japanese yen except for maybe this more recent one, which is like more like 143 to compare against. When we come over to ZN, well, I guess there was the low from the 28th was 25.5, which is down here. There's a couple of orders before that. There's nothing unusual there. Don't know what to make of this. Sure is going though, isn't it? Seems like it was a little bit of a slow goer, but it did go. And in fact, that last one was quite a bit, because before that we were sitting at 30, right? And a lot traded at 29, by the way. That was 7,000 already. So I kind of was not paying attention, I guess, when I was looking at that chart. It must have happened, but I guess there was an iceberg there. This is one of those trades where it's kind of like it makes you think almost every step of the way that like it's too much, the market can't handle it, it's it's coming back or whatever. But so far the pressure has just been very consistent and keeps going. I wouldn't even say that like the whole meta order concept is really very applicable here, because it's just been sell pressure the whole way, And it does look like it was the Japanese yen there leading things lower and the dollar pushing higher. How high can the dollar get? Jeez. Okay, we're getting red book here in a second. That's not typically something that really moves the market, though. Still an hour until we get to the big numbers. So So other question. Is the selling because of the Japanese yen, or are people front running ISM PMI? For investors, Swiss is great, but for people working normal jobs or even small businesses, you do pay, like most countries, 40 to 60%. Your income goes to taxes. And okay, so that 12K that's traded at 09 does have me a little bit. It's a little bit. I don't know. 'Cause some of the takes seem a little flashy, I guess you could say. Like it's shifting around a lot here. I think I'm just going to take the $10 and run. I run an RSI on a 5-minute chart, and that's nearly at 0. Really? That's funny. Oh, it looks like we finished the playlist. I'm a little scared here because, man, this is a tough one. I really want to stay short, but I am seeing some signs of aggressive pushback. Like they were absorbing really hard at 29. They weren't really able to hold below that. And now I'm seeing quite a few orders pushing back and a little bit of like this pushing around here. That's usually not a good sign for like continuation at the very least. We might go sideways and develop a range, but I'm really worried about the reversal. And we're at a spot where if I wanted to take a reversal, this is where I would start to execute it. So that's why I'm probably being overly cautious. So anyways, I was going to say on the taxes thing. So I saw this thing the other day. Oh man, what was it? This guy was proposing that all media become publicly funded. Which was kind of like really stunning to me. Like, it really drives me crazy. The sort of pie in the sky proposals that I see from people, from regular people in politics, and they think that it's just so simple. He was just like, he kind of, guesstimated, here's how much money is involved in these industries and in this thing, and this is what it would cost you, and this is all very reasonable and stuff like that, right? And I'm sitting here like, okay, yeah, but like you're talking about nationalizing one of the largest segments of our economy, right? Like, you realize that that's going to have all sorts of weird effects that might not necessarily be positive, right? But people in the comments were like, oh, I'd totally be willing to pay $100 a month for yada, 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 yada. And it's like, well, yeah, listen, everybody has something that they're willing to pay a little bit of extra for. Okay. But if you go and you spend a little bit extra on every little thing that every little person in the whole country potentially wants to be publicly funded, that's more than the money that we're generating, right? So you have to come up with some sort of a reasonable measure to say, like, what is worth spending money on as a society and what isn't, right? I mean, the whole challenge here is that allocating capital is not easy, right? Like, I just tell you, like, if you come in and blah, blah. If I gave you $100,000 and told you that you had to invest it, where would you put it? Right? And you might say, well, I want to put it into real estate, or I want to put it into this. Okay, so let's just say you put it into real estate. Which properties do you put it into? Like, it's a lot of work and research to put it into, and it's never completely clear. what the best decision actually is. You know, finding good places to put your money in to work in a market like this is, I think, incredibly difficult. You know, because all of these companies are, you know, like super sky high already. You know, where would the money actually be best spent? It's impossible to know. And people want to just give it all to a politician and have them make all of those decisions. It's just, I think, just like absolutely insane. If you actually understand anything about capital allocation, you would be like, nah, this is a bad idea. You know? Let's see how they act at 31.5. Yeah, because 31.5 was kind of like after the crime area, right? Back to the scene of the crime. It seems like they're having a little bit of a tough time. I think it would be hard for them to get above evens, but it is definitely like a push back in the other direction. And I'm not really seeing the cumulative delta flip around yet either, even though I've kind of seen some signs of it in the tape. So in other words, there could be more buying to push us, you know. You could probably see a lot of people that are trying to hang on short get scared out of their positions and cover. Another way of looking at it could be, I think that 12K down there at 29 was enough to fill the meta order short, and kind of like now the pressure's off. So what was the selling all about? Why was it such a crazy aggressive right out of the gate sell? I mean, I'm a little skeptical that that's PMI, that's all about PMI. But then that does kind of put me in the mind that like we could kind of, you know, meander in this area for 45 minutes now. You know, like the timing is right on for it to, you know, things to go dead right up until the PMI. Because it's 45 minutes. Takes 45 minutes for the liquidity to recover, and PMI is in 45 minutes. But it does kind of seem like I did it right. I had a couple of these possible... I don't know why that one was this high. He's okay. I think it's okay. Probably have no clue what I was talking about. I was looking at some name changes. It had flagged a couple of them for me, but I think that my like possible impersonator kind of threshold is like really, really sensitive. So What's this? Yes. Such a good point. This Miles Udland, restraint on AI from Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi. Okay. The large language models are more focused on text and pictures, etc., kind of guessing what the next appropriate answer is. So they're not as extensible at this point into problems like pricing, matching, routing, etc. Yes. I think the place where AI can be, where the large language models can be really effective is in a more user-friendly expert advisor sort of a thing, where you can ask it a question and it can give you answers out of its existing library of knowledge very easily. I think that, like they had a Bloomberg GPT sort of a thing. I think something like that would be really valuable. What's this? This gets me interesting. Discovery trading. He's a guy who's kind of more short-term interest rates, but he's been doing it a long time and he always has really good insights. But he says this is kind of something a little different. I'm generally not the biggest historical stats guy, but these are pretty interesting. I know. Because of what they sell, it's different this time, though. Rules I. Okay, Lance Roberts at 40 times trailing 12 million cells, 25x forward sales. Nvidia is the highest valuation stock of any stock in the S&P 500. 231 companies reached a similar multiple in the last 50 years. Only 20% beat the market over the next 12 months. Over 90% fail within 3 to 5 to 10 years. The median stock loses by 36% the next 12 months. Oh, wow. I do think that Nvidia is a little rich here, but I don't think that their future is gonna. Well, actually, okay. So here's what I think is gonna happen in the chip space. I think Nvidia is gonna continue to be strong, but I think that at some point Intel is gonna flip and become the Nvidia. This is a crazy projection, right? But the thing that I'm seeing is that Intel is actually putting like real effort into their GPUs because of all of this. And so when they catch up, I think you're going to see some pretty, crazy flip in their fortunes. And yes, Nvidia kind of overvalued. Now, I don't think that they will go down to they will fail. Like this says 90% fail within 3 to 10 to 5 to 10 years. I would say it's not going to fail, but this may be the highs for a long time. This may be like a decade high sort of a thing. Well, they're able to keep 31.5. Not a whole lot of volume went out there. There was kind of like a little bit of a volume node at evens and a little bit of a node at 30.5, and then definitely a node at 29. And so it kind of looks like as we're pushing back up, even though the cumulative delta continues to be flat, we've rested all the way back here. So that is kind of like you've got the liquidity hole behind you. The pressure comes off. They slide all the way back to they just slide all the way back down the hill, basically. Because this this is almost where we got in, right? Yeah, Nvidia has good products. They'll be around a while. Yeah. It's so funny to me. You know, like again, where do you allocate your capital? I did not invest in stocks as aggressively as maybe I should have earlier, but you know, that's everybody. But I do remember, you know, like in my play portfolios and things like that, I was always looking at chip makers. I think chip makers has been the place where I've been involved more than anything else. And AMD and Nvidia. And I remember when AMD was like $4. And everybody was kind of skeptical about it too. You know, because I was like, well, they're not as good as Intel. Well, okay. It's more complicated than that, right? Was more complicated than that. And same with Nvidia. Nvidia is like, oh, they just make gaming cards. Yeah, well, things kind of changed, didn't they? It's actually weird because the gaming industry has just turned into like, oh my gosh. Especially since 2020, the video game industry has just not been very good. They're really not taking advantage. I mean, part of that is that the 30 series of graphics card, people weren't really too impressed with. So like, there hasn't really been a strong new generation of games that really fully take advantage of the video cards, you know? There are some games, but it's just not very widespread. The actual gaming market is trailing the hardware more than it usually does. But where Nvidia is getting the money from is the compute. Oh, what's this from Bloomberg? Economist behind popular recession gauge worries she created a quote-unquote monster. Claudia Sahm thinks her eponymous rule may fail this time, meaning the U.S. may dodge a downturn even if unemployment goes up modestly. In 2019, while working as a senior economist at the Federal Reserve, Claudia Sahm published a measure to show when the U.S. has fallen into a recession. What came to be known as the Sahm rule is elegant in its simplicity and has been praised for its accuracy by the likes of nobody cares about Paul Krugman. Good grief, Bloomberg. It holds that the economy is contracting when the 3-month moving average of the unemployment rate rises by 0.5 percentage point relative to the low point during the previous 12 months. Some single variable formula is the closest there is to a real-time recession monitor. Okay. So I can totally see why that would be a great indicator and why it might not work around this time. An item she published in December as part of her stay-at-home macro newsletter was titled, I Create a Nest. She makes a newsletter called Stay-at-Home Macro. That is so cool. I'm liking this woman. All right. If it was ever going to break, it would be now. I would love it to trigger and there not be recession. Her point being that if unemployment was to modestly increase without a broader recession being created, Sam would be fine with that. Sam said there's never been a more pressing time for economists to be humble. One could indeed describe forecasters' incredible string of misses over the past few years as humbling. Shocks stemming from the pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine have tested decades of conventional wisdom about how economies function, she says, which is why most in the profession, including central bankers, were caught off guard when inflation reemerged after years of lying dormant. I don't know why but you know what? I don't think that that's how it happened. I think that how it happened was that everything that we saw was suggesting that inflation was coming. And those of us that were trading on it, it was incredibly obvious that that's where the data was heading from. And all of these experts were saying that it wasn't going to happen because the people in power didn't want that to happen. And they all fell for it. I think that they all fell for the expert, position of authority, logical fallacy. My huge concern with Intel is Apple. They lost a huge market to Apple Silicon. Yeah, well, you know, I don't know. Has the Apple Silicon actually been that successful, though? I wonder, I really do wonder how many of those laptops are they actually selling? Because, like, okay, here's the problem that I have with the Apple products is that the people that would actually need the power for that, I'm really at a loss as to how many professionals there actually are out there that need that kind of oomph that would be getting an Apple at this point. You know? They are still better for like if you want a laptop to edit video, you definitely go to the Apple ones, right? Love your M2. Yeah, the M2, but I don't know if the M2 has actually gotten that much market share. Let's see if we can find some stats on that. Okay, Apple's worldwide PC market share dropped between the first quarter of 2022 and the first quarter of 2023 from 8.6% to 7.2%. Apple has increased its US PC market share. Here's another one. This is contradictory. From 12.86 to 31.34. Well, that's May 4th, and the other one was April 10th. But those two things, in the first two results that I get from Google, contradict. Okay, now here's a little bit more directly. Last week, iPhone maker Apple introduced the latest addition to its in-house chips, M2, which will debut in the tech giant's new MacBook Air and 13-inch MacBook Pro, dubbed as the next generation of Apple's own chip designed specifically for the Mac. The new chip will include 25% more transistors and 50% more bandwidth, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Annual growth for Mac was 28.3 versus 14.6 for global PC. Mac shipments grew 8% over the first quarter. The M2, blah, 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 blah. So what I'm seeing here is that how successful the M1 and M2 are is maybe not yet clear. But what I do see here is that the amount that the Mac is maybe taking does not really like the PC makers are getting enough growth just from like the market getting larger as a whole that they're not necessarily losing share to the M2. Although some of them may be in the short term. But I think for your investment thesis on Intel, I'm not sure that it matters, because the thing again is that the play is that Intel will start to become a bigger player on compute, right? That Intel will grow, and if not get on par with Nvidia in terms of like AI computing. Well, let's see here. I took my original trade at 399. We're at about 393 right now. So I definitely did make the right call. My E on that was 18 though. I probably could have gotten $5 more out of it. It does. We have about 10 minutes until the open, and then we get the PMIs. So I'm thinking that we'd probably still stay in this range for a bit. I don't know. I kind of would like to get another. I used to have like a little notebook, and I think that one of the kids like hit the screen and killed it. So I'm thinking I would maybe like to get a new one, but I think it would need to be really tough, and it wouldn't need to be a very nice one, because that probably would be just for web browsing, basically. Good morning, Francesco. And like but like the reason I go into that is because like Apple doesn't have any offerings like that, right? All of the offerings that you get from Apple, I feel like are like crazy overkill for the audience that actually buys them, right? Right? Like there are some audio there are media professionals that use Apples, okay? But I would rather be using a desktop instead of one of those laptops. And like the people that are buying laptops are like, college kids and stuff like that. People who don't use the power. So yeah. Well, I am still seeing a little bit of heaviness over here in the treasuries, but it's pretty sideways. The volume is definitely sideways. I'm just realizing that I just went on like 5 tangents in a row there. I'd say that here just before the S&P 500 opened that the Twitter lines are unusually quiet. Order, but is that you, Salim? You changed your name again? Did you get banned somewhere? What are you doing? Yes, no. Oh, okay. Just decided to change. I hope you're being good. I just want to make it clear, if he's going off and doing something stupid, I am not responsible for him. Oh, you did get banned by Matt, huh? Be nice to Matt. I like that kid, even though I have some concerns with his trading. Have you heard of? Of course I've heard of Jane Street. Of course I've heard of Jane Street. I know, he runs like 80 accounts. I know, because I banned. Well, I was going back through one day, like looking at the bans, and there are some people that I thought like I had banned a ton of times. And then when I actually went through it, I was like, oh no, actually, there's not that many of them. Like, I think I only banned like 4 or 5. In fact, I think I've banned more Vinny fake accounts than Salim fake accounts. Isn't that funny? So there's a new documentary series on Netflix. And I know you guys probably don't have Netflix anymore, but I'm a sucker and I just never cancel those things. So we're watching Netflix, and last year they had How to Become a Tyrant, and it has like Peter Dinklage as the narrator, and they go through all of these tyrannical regimes and go through how they come to power and all that sort of stuff, right? So this season it's How to Become a Cult Leader. So I'm watching all of this stuff. So I'm learning about Manson, whatever his name was, right? And when I see all of the things like, okay, how did they run the cult and everything to like create the cults and all of this sort of stuff, and I'm really like, oh, I am really am like the anti, like everything that I do is like the opposite. No, I don't think I don't think that I will ever build the cults. Yeah. Thinking about learning OCaml just because of Jane Street? Oh, I don't know about that one. I think that if you're going down the quant route, that the best thing to do is to do AI stuff in Python. And so like one of the things that they were saying is like you have to tell everybody that like you're super special and that nobody else is like you. In other words, in order to become a successful cult leader, you basically have to be a chronic narcissist. You basically have to be a chronic narcissist in order for it to work, because you have to convince them that you're like the everything, right? And you can see me here every day telling you like, no, that's not. There's nothing special about me per se. I'm taking a lot of, data that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, people much smarter than me that figured this stuff out, and I'm just relating it to you, to retail traders, because for some reason retail traders haven't looked at this stuff. And that's it. Not some god, but there are definitely some people in the space that try and act like that. Like they're the greatest trader ever. All they ever do is win. And that if you follow them and do exactly what they do, that you'll become a millionaire, right? It's like, that's the promise that you have to make. And to me, it's just like, do people actually buy that crap? I can't imagine somebody telling you that sort of a thing. And being like, oh, that's it, I'm gonna dedicate my life to this person. Like, it's just insane to me. Doesn't make any sense. But apparently a large portion of the population is susceptible to that stuff. What are you looking to trade market open? Well, because we have a PMI, I'm not going to be doing anything right after the market open, right? So I'm going to be waiting until 9:45 Eastern time to see the PMIs and what those, and then kind of take it from there. I would prefer to be going short on the treasuries here, but I mean, look, it is really come back here, right? So what else was he doing? Oh yeah, and then there was like all of the things about like how to win friends and influence people, right? Tell people that they're like the greatest, which I think I do that just kind of naturally. I like people. But like one of the things that they mentioned was like say people's name a lot because people like to hear their name. I hate that. I hate that. If I'm talking to somebody and they use my name a lot, I'm immediately suspicious. And that's always been a thing, like long before I knew that was like how to win friends and influence people sort of a thing. I hate when people use my name too much. I immediately think that they're trying, especially when it's online. When they say Seth, every time they're responding to me, they use Seth. I'm immediately like, yeah, they're trying to manipulate. the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, yeah, it kind of seems like that YouTube, that chronic narcissists have like huge advantages in certain fields, in terms of fields that rely on mass popularity. I don't think that Donald Trump is like a chronic narcissist per se, like a diagnosable one per se. I think that a lot of his behavior can be explained more by ADHD, but he is narcissistic, right? And his narcissistic tendencies seem to be many of those things are the things that seem to make him popular. You know, like he can never admit doing anything wrong. He's always just like he's the most perfectest person. The only way that this country is going to get fixed is if Donald Trump gets back into office, right? And I kind of thought that most of the Republican Party was kind of like, well, there's not, this is the guy that's going to win, and we're just kind of going along with it. But now I'm seeing that there is this core group of Republicans that really have just bought into the whole thing hook, line, and sinker, and ever since the election in 2020, they've been, dreaming of when they reelect him back into office. Right? And then, there's people like that on YouTube. So now I'm like suspicious of everybody on YouTube. There's definitely people on YouTube that I think that they became successful off of the strength of their content, right? And probably like the top people are going to be, good hard workers like that. But there's also a really large section of these people that are just like chronic narcissists, and they're going to do whatever it takes to gain the largest following that they can to pump their ego up. And ultimately, that's my problem, is like, I want the community to get better because we'll be able to, they will help more people, and it will help us help people more, and we could do some great things, but I'm just not willing to do all of those things that the narcissist would. So I'm not competitive in that respect. And I've kind of given up on that one. Man, I really want to know what happened with the Voyager. I know I'm like all over the place today. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe I just didn't get enough sleep last night, but I'm being like particularly ADHD today. I'm really bothered by this we lost contact with Voyager 2 thing. What did they? Somebody screwed up big time. Short the narcissists. No, if anything, I'm telling you, go long narcissists, right? Some diversity, I dropped the ball. I saw this. I saw this thing yesterday. Ooh, this is a delicate subject, but this video really stood out to me. They was talking about women in the Marines and the SEALs, I think. And this guy was saying that he was in the group of SEALs where they first tested that, because before, like, women were never SEALs, right? And he said that, like, that they were just literally not allowed to fail anybody. So, like, they would run you super hard and until you just your body broke and everything, and so that you would drop out. And they were trying to get the women to drop out, and they just wouldn't drop out. They wouldn't drop out, but they were failing all of the tests too. Right? Which was like, okay, yeah, I was really bothersome, because in the military, you need the best of the best. Like, the performance matters. Like, that's the thing, is like, like, it's not a bad thing want everybody to be able to get involved and everybody able to have opportunities and things like that, right? But you really can't do so at the expense of performance. You really can't, because the world is competitive. Nature is competitive, right? And you willingly give up your competitive edge, it can destroy you. That's how training works. No, I thought that there were also certain bars that you had to get over, and if you couldn't do them, then they would then they would fail you. That they could. I thought that they could also fail you. Yeah, it's a specialty group. I understand that part. Hey, Jer, how are you been? I haven't seen you in a bit. Oh, is it your birthday? September 8th. By the way, we came up a little bit higher, and I'm kind of getting like this clicky behavior. I think that's because the S&P 500 is open now, though. But at most, like, especially for the seals, most people do drop out, though, right? Then I met my wife. Oh, okay. I don't think I would make it. I have a hard time, like, I always struggled, like, when wrestling, we were doing running or whatever we were doing for conditioning, I always struggled the most. I still stuck through and would do it all, but, like, yeah, probably wouldn't be able to perform at a level that you would, so you could be a SEAL or something like that, right? Physically, you could be, no, I'm not sure. I can be an incredibly stubborn and persistent person, and I absolutely have a large degree of experience in my life. I mean, pretty much my whole life, where I've been pushing my body to, like, passing out, right? Like, I do that all the time. Even still, I actually, the workouts that we're doing right now and weightlifting are, like, really crazy. And if I had not scaled it back a little bit, I probably would have passed out. I'm getting better at it, though. I think that a lot of what's going on is that I don't get enough salt and stuff in my system. So I've been drinking a lot of Gatorade, and that's been helping me push through those things. Hey, I'm not the one that drained the pool over the rat. Okay, that was not my decision. Okay, but it absolutely is 100% justified to do that, by the way, okay? Because that's how you get hantavirus. And it's a very serious issue in Utah. And so the guidance, I don't know anything about owning a pool, but I can totally see the guidance being that you need to drain it and clean it. But anyways, I had nothing to do with that, so don't put that on me. I think that if I was in the military, well, probably like basic training, I would probably be, like, in terms of fitness for basic training, probably would be fine. I'm not sure that I have the physique required to be a SEAL. But I think the thing that I would have trouble with is, like, you have an interpersonal problem with somebody or something like that, right? Like, I am the kind of person that I just do not put up with people's BS, right? And so I would have a very hard time if, like, somebody in authority, if I felt that they were abusing it, or they just decided that they didn't like me. I think that would be very difficult. Yeah. I mean, I'm told that some people with ADHD can do really well in that environment, but not overall. I think most struggle. You're short the S&P right now? Okay, just remember, we've got a really significant economic number coming out in 5 minutes here. Okay? I personally, I don't want any positions on when we go into that, because that's probably going to move the market significantly, and I really don't. I mean, if we come back to the numbers here, well, it's the S&P manufacturing PMI is the estimate is 49, and then 15 minutes after that, then we get the ISM. For the ISM, manufacturing PMI, they're looking for 46.9 versus a previous reading of 46, and prices paid 44 versus 41.8. Well, but this is something like if the mental part is pushing you to your limit and you've got to just keep going or whatever, I've done that. I've done that more than most people. It's kind of a thing in Utah, more so than in other cultures. I guess you could say, to really push the kids physically. So, you know, I did the wrestling in junior high and high school. That was hell. Oh man, wrestling is, especially when we got into high school. Like, wrestling is such a crazy sport in high school because you basically were doing a tournament every weekend. Like, we basically did a tournament every weekend. That was rough. You wrestled a lot, and every time that you do a wrestling match, like you put everything into it, right? Ugh. But then the conditioning they put you through at the beginning to do that is rough. You definitely would throw up. Like a lot of people would throw up. And then there's lots of other things that we do, but I don't know. But that's where I'm saying that, like, I don't think that my body would do it, right? Like, I would get to the point where you're like passing out much faster than your average person, right? So that's where I'm like, I'm pretty sure that they just fill you out. Like, if you just physically can't do it, because I don't think I could physically do it. I would never give in, but they would not let me. I hate mosquitoes. Hate flies. But if it was one of those things where it was like, okay, you can pass out and throw up and not be able to get over the obstacles and whatnot as much as you want, you've just got to never say I quit, right? I would pass 100%, no doubt in my mind. If all it was is I just can't say I quit, I would pass. We did come back a little bit here. I think I'm going to clear my DOM just so I can kind of... You love watching it? I don't know. If there's one thing I know about myself, it's that I'm unusually stubborn. Like, you do not want to get in a war of wills with me. How often do your news numbers hit and the market does the opposite? Well, okay, so we should shift gears a little bit because you asked a good question. Although the number is going to come out here in 10 seconds, so let's just wait for that here. So the expectation is 49. This number is not as big of a mover as the one that we're going to see at the top of the hour, but I think it still could move. You kind of the analysis you have to do on it is a little complicated, right? Remember that what matters is the orders. It's 49, so probably nothing's going to happen. Okay, so we have to look at what is the market expectation. What did we actually get? What is the positioning before the move? What does this tell us about the actual broader economy? And we kind of have to look at it as like, okay, based on this number, what orders need to come out, right? So something that will often happen, especially with non-farms, man, non-farms can be crazy, is that everybody has some expectation on what it's going to be. Actually, we could try and use that as an example. So if I go over to non-farm employment change, the expectation is 203 versus a previous reading of 209. I haven't heard any whisper yet, but I would kind of suspect that it would be a little higher than that, like 220, 230 again. That's like a really low number. So let's just say that everybody's expecting a good number, right? So they're all, even though the analyst estimate is 203, the traders can still be taking positions long and expecting that analyst number to be wrong. That happens a lot, right? But the thing is that like then the number comes out and it's 230. Okay, so it is higher than expected. The market should buy off of that news, right? Well, it depends on the orders. If everybody that really needed to go long off of a number like that was already betting long anyways, then you take your profits, and so you actually sell off on a number like that, right? Buy the rumor, sell the news. But it's, you know, that's kind of a heuristic that doesn't work very well, right? What we really, the model that we need to use is what are the orders going to be? And so we're going to have to look at all of the different groups of traders and people, and based on this number, what are they potentially going to have to do, right? And then we can game out that there's going to be enough of an imbalance that we can get a really good trade off of the number, right? So for this news at the top of the hour, if we kind of want to game this out, so we're looking for ISM manufacturing PMI, a reading of 46.9 versus a previous reading of 46. If we were to get a higher than anticipated number, which I think is actually likely in this situation, then there's going to be concerns about inflation. But that's where the ISM manufacturing prices is probably going to be really important. They're looking for a reading of 43.8 versus a previous reading of 41.8. So if it is higher than anticipated, there's going to be real concerns of inflation. You're probably going to see yields fall, you're probably going to see yields rise and treasuries fall off of that, right? And vice versa, if it's lower than expected. Well, if it's lower than expected, it's maybe a little bit more complicated. You might actually see the yields fall and the equities rally a little bit on that. But there is a certain point at which that number, especially the headline manufacturing PMI, where that gets bad enough that the equities sell as well, right? So we kind of have to like wait until the news comes out, kind of see some signs of which of our scenarios the flow is going, and then try and write it. First movement is typically the right direction, after which the second movement is, yeah. the first movement is usually the right direction. But so like another thing that can happen, I don't think that it will happen in this situation, but like, was it yesterday? No, it was last week, like last Thursday, for instance, right? Number comes out, knee-jerk reaction one way, and then the whole rest of the session, it goes the opposite way. Why is that? Well, because that news wasn't actually that important. And once everybody that was there to trade that news had gotten over it, then the other things that mattered, like the flows going into the end of the week and so forth, started to dominate. So a lot of the time, the news is only important in as much as all of the traders are waiting for the news to get through before they execute the orders that they always needed to execute anyways. Right? So you can kind of see, if you look at the flows, you can kind of sort out why did it move the way that it did after news. Whereas kind of some of these more simple models that people kind of just assume don't work, right? Like you assume that you take the actual and the number, and then you should see the flows based on whether we were better or worse than the forecast, right? Well, it's too simple. It's too simple. So the trade, we won't know what the trade is until the news comes. And I might not be able to take a trade, right? It might, sometimes it moves too fast and too far for me to feel comfortable taking it. In fact, that's actually quite likely to happen here, just because I'm going to be a little bit careful. Not a little bit. I'm going to be a lot bit careful on this news because the market's going to be very illiquid. Probably. I think you're going to see the treasury liquidity completely pull for this PMI. Yeah. I like how you use NinjaTrader. Thank you. Well, I have a lot of really cool indicators for Ninja, right? There's some selling coming back in here in a relatively aggressive order at, well, that one may just be because it's at evens, but they put a big stack on at 111 even. Yeah, thinking back on the military training sort of a thing, it's not a problem or that I would ever be able to test anyways, because I have enough medical conditions and stuff that they would not let me do that. So, like with my ulcerative colitis, yeah, starving yourself in the jungle for 2 weeks probably would maybe kill me. There's got to be a point at which they, like, you know, you ever watched Survivor Man is what I think what it's called, which is like the true survivor show where they just put people out in the most inhospitable environments you can imagine. It's always places where there is just not much food for humans, and it basically becomes a starving contest at the end. Like, they come out every few days and weigh you, and if you get below a certain percentage, then you drop out. Surely there must be a point for those programs where the medical people say you have to drop out and you can try again. So now some icebergs at 31.5. Curious. So it looks to me like there are some moves, and it's a little difficult for me to sort out. I mean, it looks like they're just continuing to sell the treasuries going into this PMI. I guess it would make sense. Like if I were to guess, I think that the ISM manufacturing prices is going to be higher than expected. So my theory is that the treasuries will sell on the news. And probably break new lows if at the very least briefly. Love your work. You trade ZN only. Well, I place them in the micro treasuries, but as of late, yeah, I've only traded the treasuries. At least day traded the treasuries. I still have a couple of those stocks. I should probably go in, put a little bit more money into the stocks and like pick some more stocks. Do a little bit more work on that. Because the one speculative play that I made continues to do well. I mean, like it did well, it came all the way back, and now it's starting to do well again. Are we gonna start this at 4%, huh? Well, they went further than that. How do you expect to make much money trading ZN? Well, if you scale up, you probably have more opportunity to make a lot of money in ZN than you do in other instruments, to be honest with you. But, you know, day trading futures is kind of like you're going to underperform the market overall, right? Because what you're doing is you're kind of reducing the amount of risk, but you're also kind of, as you're taking on less risk, the actual ultimate gain is less. So I should say the objective here is not to become a millionaire from trading treasuries, even though it's possible to happen. That's not the main objective. That's not what I think of when I'm placing trades. I'm just thinking, how can I make the best trade possible here in this situation, given what I have to work with? Okay, so the book is incredibly active 5 minutes before the news. I am already starting to see liquidity come off a little bit here. You just barely saw a robot take off like 200 contracts every price. And yes, as we're doing that, they are kind of sinking back down. So I could wager a guess that traders are betting that the number is going to be stronger than expected, pushing treasuries down. But let's see how it goes. Yeah, ZN is one of the better markets to scale with big size, so that's how you make money. Yeah, you know, realize that you know, if you had the money, you could come in and hit with 1,000 lot, and you see 1,000 lots go through all of the time, right? So like the ability to scale is absolutely there. Okay, so 2 minutes. Hey, good morning, D. I haven't seen you in a few days. The XE traders prefer the bun. Well, I'm sure because they're in Europe that they would prefer the bun. The bun does have a little bit more volatility. It's kind of a much better. Okay, so there's the 1 minute into it, they're all pulling, right? So they only do this for a real blockbuster number. Holiday, now you need a holiday from the holiday. Yeah, no, I think that the bund is a much better compromise between liquidity and movement, you know, and the treasuries, it just doesn't move very much. Well, it's not just because they're in Europe, but like you're definitely like the time frames and stuff, it can be a little bit better for you as well. But most US traders just don't even have the data for it, right? Okay, here we go. Ooh, let me see that big old order. So lower than expected. Price is paid lower than expected, 42.6. Okay. So in this situation, especially since we saw what appeared to be flows going short into it, that's going to result in a pretty strong up move here in the treasury. But it's already gone past the kind of the levels where I would feel comfortable trading it. So I think that I need to sit tight here and let it kind of die out and see if it can come back. Lots of billions in this exchange. Yeah, well, I still kind of wonder if the activity that we had in the beginning here was because of the Japanese yen. Let's see here. Tuesday, 1.7 billion at 142, which is right about where they're at. Well, geez, to 975, so that's a whole 25 ticks. Could maybe try and play it 0.4 here. Still a little concerned about the backwash, and especially like what I'm seeing the dollar do here. So just in case you missed it, US ISM manufacturing 46.4 versus an expected 46.9. So just a small miss, but then manufacturing prices paid 42.6 versus 44. Okay, so that is actually kind of the best scenario that you could get, where you're getting disinflationary numbers, and yeah, manufacturing is still weak, but it's not like super awful. I mean, it's still better than last month. Okay, so I think that the equities could rally through that. Okay, it is coming back. So they basically recovered it. This is I'm a little suspicious of this thing now. Is it just that illiquid? Probably if I was forced to take a trade, it would be long ES right here. 46.05 seems fine. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm tempted to take a trade here in ZN. Well, we could do it on Sim, I guess. So I'm a little bit worried about this because of how illiquid it's behaving, and like it's looking like it's coming all the way back. So I think I could play with it on sim, but I'll wait until things have calmed down if I decide to take something on my live account. Already took one trade on my live account and was okay, so like I don't have to do anything. And in fact, I don't know if like in this situation, like let's just say, let's just even say that I got 4. Let's say I went short at 4. Would I make 20 bucks on that? Maybe. I think it might be difficult for them to make a new high. So I don't know if there will be enough activity for them to make new highs in the treasury. Okay. Yeah, I mean, how to position yourself, I don't know, but I think that the trade is probably a buy. That number, I think, is a pretty good license to continue the rally. So I'm trying to lower my cost basis here. So there is an indicator on there called like the summary rows. I think it might be included in the thing now, but it's not really perfect, I guess you could say. I can't remember the exact thing, but like having them on the DOM there's kind of a few issues with it. No, I don't have it on. So there was an indicator that like I'd made, and like I didn't put it out because it was in testing. That was basically like the summaries, and then in the last one I think I did put it in. Because I remember somebody asking me about it. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't document that one. But I didn't document it largely because I felt like people were better off, you know, that I didn't want to encourage people to use it. It was just like, it was there and it's a toy, but it wasn't one that I felt was super useful or effective. Well, so I tried taking it here. They're blowing right through me here. Looks like this trade is a bad. The Japanese yen is just getting crushed here. So I will go flat there. Huke it. Wow, they're already to 4007. So the micros are about to breach new highs. Yeah, ZB leading for sure. Steepening hardcore. It kind of seems to me like instead of reading this as disinflationary, we're conquering inflation, the market is starting to read this as it looks like we're going into a recession. Because steepening is what I would expect if the market thought we're heading into a recession, right? The whole thing is pretty wild, though. There's no way that I would have faded that spike off of the news. Although I must also say the volume in the treasuries hasn't been that tremendous. The change in cumulative delta hasn't been that tremendous. It seems like the dollar is whipping around really hard, though. So I'm a little disappointed because I feel like I should have had like a clear trade that I could have taken live there, but it didn't. I tried the test and that failed, so that's probably a warning for me that I best not getting involved with this at the moment. This is a little risky. I'm gonna try it the other way. I'm gonna size up quick. There's a pretty clear classic level break setup right there at 29.5. And we'll see if they actually do it. Trying to think how well has this trade worked out for me lately. I think in this situation it's probably a 50-50, but this action in the treasuries is overall is pretty wild for the treasuries, yeah. To spike up like that and then just fail all the way back to the lows. I don't know if it's in there, D. It would be in there and it would be called like summary rows. Jeez, okay, they did take 28.5. I think I need to move this a little bit. I mean, the larger thing I'm trying to tell you is I don't really think it's worth your time. That particular one. Man, ZB is just getting crushed. Gonna tweet about this. CBF definitely leading the way here for a steepener. offers increasing here? Yeah. Well, probably because you're seeing so many downticks, right? The actual amount on offer is pretty okay. So I'm not seeing strong indication of like somebody new stepping into the market per se, but it's just getting crushed. Like the Japanese yen is just getting creamed. Okay, Iceberg 27.5, a little bit of battle there, but kind of suggesting to me that the sellers are still firmly in control here. So it is interesting. I definitely got the move right after the news wrong, right? But I think so now that we've had a little bit of time to watch the flows, I think that the market is suggesting that number is recessionary. I don't know. It's not like the end of the world kind of a move. But it does, I think it is kind of a significant warning here. I should definitely be careful about pulling out my account because I don't completely understand the dynamics going on right here. Okay, let's read the Zero Hedge story about it. It's been a rough morning for global manufacturing PMIs. China, Turkey, Italy, France, Germany, Eurozone, UK, Canada, and Brazil all printed below 50 and are in contraction. So, can the USA buck the trend? Well, besides, we have something no other country has, Bidenomics. U.S. macro data has serially surprised the upside in recent weeks, so expectations were for a rebound in U.S. manufacturing soft survey data, and S&P Global's PMI printed 49 in July, still in contraction, unchanged from the flashpoint earlier in the month. ISM's manufacturing survey headline disappointed, printing 46.4, still in contraction, but up marginally from the June print. ISM hasn't been above 50 since August of 2022. Yeah, it's been so terrible. ISM manufacturing survey showed employment slowing at its fastest rate since COVID lockdowns. Prices and new orders continue to contract. Chris Williamson, chief business economist at S&P Global Market Intelligence, said manufacturing continues to act as a drag on the U.S. economy. The recent spell of malaise persisting at the start of the third quarter, however, producers are clearly shrugging off recession fears and planning for better times ahead. Sector continued to suffer from lower demand and as a post-pandemic shift in spending from goods to services and an ongoing trend of cost-focused inventory reduction led to a further drop in orders. The overall rate of order book decline nevertheless moderated during the month, helped by a slower decline in exports to help stabilize production. There are some silver linings for those desperate to find something bullish, soft landing to cling to. There were several other encouraging bright spots in the survey, most notably including a marked improvement in business expectations for output in the year ahead. Firms are therefore anticipating the current soft patch to soon pass and importantly are hiring more staff as a result. There was also good news on the inflation front. The combination of weak demand and improved supply led to a further buyer's market for many goods. Prices charged for goods subsequently barely rose for a third straight month, which should help subdue consumer price inflation in the near term. Still not exactly the exuberant economy that Bidenomics promised. I don't know, man. I still kind of felt like that the number was just bad enough to be good. The reaction that I'm seeing is not the one that I anticipated, but I think that this was a case where I just judged the reaction function wrong, right? because clearly the market reacted as, this is recessionary, this is negative economy. So they're selling ES. The inflation being, better, being disinflationary, doesn't matter to them, right? What's going on with this volatility? Well, I think it was a really volatile event. These PMIs are like super important right now, right? It's giving you the same thing later in the week with the services PMIs. The way that you can kind of judge it is like when you're looking at the macro narrative, right? What are the things that people are looking at? What are the things that they're unsure about? Like, what are the big questions going forward? Is this disinflation going to persist? Is there actually going to be a recession in the second half of the year, right? And so you've got a lot of eyes on that number. Well, it came within expectations. I don't know about that. I'm just saying that like the amount of people looking to put orders on based off of this is a lot, right? So it could move a lot in both ways. I do kind of wonder on this one though, like the yields rising back up, that has me a little concerned. That makes me wonder if there's something else at play here. They're not pushing lower again yet. So it may have just been like a stop out move on both sides. And now they're going to moderate. Instead of rather, pull back and push lower. Because I'm not seeing that in the volume yet. Sometimes things aren't as what they seem. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for us to sort out. So one of the things that we would want to pay attention to here today is like look for reports from Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, etc., about what their desks were thinking. Like which of their clients were calling them. What were the moves that their clients were making, right? And that can give you some pretty good clear clues, if not just outright answer the question of what was the major driver here, right? Because you might find that these guys didn't really care about the PMI and that they were trying to make trades based on the Japanese yen instead, for instance. But on the flip side, these kinds of, especially the really volatile ones, and the reaction function that you get from them can be difficult to judge. That's why I wasn't like trying to take a position going on into the move, right? Now, the play that I could have made is I could have reversed it, but that was just so unexpected. So I totally missed that. But you know what? I didn't have a trade on, so it's not a live trade at least. So it's fine, right? The question is, what do we do from here? And because I feel so lost, doesn't really give me a very good base on which to premise a trade on, does it? Evens in ZB? Well, we did get like that level break trade and there was some iceberg absorption after that, right? I'm seeing net buying overall too. Ugh. Drag IP. We still don't know how the inflation employment trade-off ends. I guess overall, that spot there at 29.5 where he saw the level break should have just taken the quick profit. Now I'm looking at it and kind of wondering if they're not going to meander back across this entire range again. That's a pretty wide range, like a plateau like that in the ZN. That's a little unusual to see a distribution like that. Well, geez, it's already been 30 minutes. That went by real fast. What do you mean that you don't know if it came within? Well, okay, so it was 46.4 versus 46.9. So is that within the normal range for expectations? I don't know. I've never really looked at that sort of thing. I've always just looked at what was it compared to the forecast, right? But I think that in order to explain this move, that it has to be beyond that, right? Clearly, when you dive into the report and everything else, it seems like there's kind of more going on here. And that, no, you're talking about the S&P manufacturing PMI at 945. That was 49, and that was in line, and nothing happened after that, right? But then we had the ISM manufacturing PMI, and that was the one that was 46.4 versus an expected 46.9. And there was the knee-jerk reaction higher, which I think was exactly as predicted, and then that completely got erased, and they went to new lows, which was very unexpected. What is this? So this guy is saying the right things, and when I look at his... That one was also quite close. Yeah, I'm not sure I can use the news to completely explain that move. I mean, maybe it was like the knee-jerk reaction was appropriate, and then the rest was just profit taking or something. I don't know. This was really weird. Okay, so I'm looking at this Reddit thread, and this is like the first time I've seen somebody post a backtest where it actually looks good. So let's see here. The Sharpe ratio isn't very good. Hmm. 2-to-1 average winner to loser. No, I can't. It doesn't show me the MFEs, but that is a pretty hefty drawdown, though. Where is that drawdown coming from? Is it from here? Oh, yeah. Because look at that. That's from 2015 to 2020, it just like straight up didn't work. Oh, how do I want to say that? It was a good post. Any good trades this morning? Well, I did. So I did take a live trade short when we first opened, and that was good. I took a sim trade after the news that did not go, and now I'm in another sim trade that is also being difficult. So I think that I'm probably done for the day, given that we've got 30 minutes left. I don't think it doesn't seem like I understand this market. I think that the risk that you run, the thing that will destroy you when you trade the way that I do, is if you just aren't the informed trader. If you just really don't understand everything that's going on in that market, then it can be really hard, right? And so on that one, the way that it just flipped around was extremely unexpected for me, right? So if I'm not the one in the know, then I've got to be careful. I've got to scale back and not trade as much. And so I do have this sim trade. I will probably take profit on it at some point before. Maybe it keeps going here. Maybe they go for the lows again. But I think I get out of that before the end of our session here in 30 minutes. I thought it was going to come down there, and it's still kind of hovering there. Let's see here. I'm trying to decide which tabs to close here. What's this? BlackRock's, a giant real estate trust for wealthy individuals, saw redemption requests ease to the lowest point this year as it limited withdrawals for a 9th consecutive month. Something I find really infinitely amusing is that everybody on TikTok is concerned about how the how corporations are buying up housing and real estate investment trusts and everything, and yet the investors that were doing all of that got absolutely creamed. Oh, sorry, I missed D's comment, or I saw it and I forgot about it. Right? Does your DOM have the column that is showing the pulling in second? I don't turn that on. I just watch it. I just see it as it happens. Okay, I'm going to give up on that one too. Two in a row there shows that I don't really know what's going on. I guess one might say that failure to extend on that suggests that the movement was kind of more endogenous in nature. Because, it was absolutely in a situation where they could have extended. And I mean, we did get the level break, it's just it wasn't worth very much, right? And then I held on for it too long. So I'm noticing that at 0.5, which is right where we're at, there was a large order that got stacked and pulled a bunch of times. It was like 1,000 contracts there. When was that? That was right after the news. Oh, yes. Okay. So that was where after the news, there was an order there that showed up briefly as they got whoosh. Let me show you this. Do you see that? So it all happened. It was 2,000 was placed on the DOM. And I don't know how it was able to be that many orders like that and then that many canceled. But I guess maybe it stacked up to 10K contracts all at once at one point. That is really weird. I'm going to take a picture of that one and save it on Twitter. That was like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like almost 10K trying to get placed there. It's just a little weird. It's just I the only thing I can do to describe it is to call it awfully suspicious. It's just like when it happened, I only saw 2,000. But what I'm seeing on there suggests that they placed almost 10K and then immediately canceled it all. But it looks like order stuffing. Ah, that's so weird. I guess maybe that spoof pushed the market up further than it normally would have gone, and that's why we had such a hard fall back. You know? So that all of those guys like immediately got trapped. If that was a spoof, it was exactly at 8. Here, I posted the picture on Twitter. Here, close that. There we go. Oh gosh dang it. Misclick. It looks like when you have one more leg down in ES. I could maybe still justify buying it, right? That, like, 10K there, that's going to be enough to... That could totally have been enough to just explain that whole thing, right? You do it right after news. But if that was a spoof, that is a new kind of spoof that I've never seen before. Spoof just after news. Sounds like something the CFTC should get on. I think it's a new algo. I mean, that's not the first time recently after news that I've seen like a big order show up like that. Because it always sticks out to me because one of the trades that I took that was a really good trade was like there was a move and there was a big offer like that sitting there, and so it paused for a second and I sold it, and then they just went, you know, and that was like a really crazy move. But now I'm starting to see these kind of orders show up after the move, like every time. Seems suspicious. It seems like a spoof. Right? You see that link now that I posted in there? Like, isn't that wild? Like, with it on the link, you can see it zoomed in. So, like, bid added 22.45 at 01.5. And then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ads. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 takes it off. So he adds everything that he added, except for 1123, I guess would still be remaining after all of that. And this all happens literally within microseconds, right? Like, it all happened almost instantly. So that, I mean, that's just not, that can't be just some rando goofing with us, right? Like, you would have to have a really strong connection to the exchange and everything to play that. And it's happening so quick. I mean, it's an algorithm that's doing it. But it's awfully suspicious. Unless it's like somebody blew their position and that was their broker, like, hitting the stops or something. I don't know. That's just wild. I really can't fully explain that, man. Oh, Octavius, you followed me on Twitter. You weren't following me? I'll follow you back. There you go. He hasn't tweeted anything yet, though. A kid from South Park wrote an algo in chat GTP. GPT. GTB. Huh? Did you see that thing where they made this whole thing where, like, it's like a whole virtual world of South Park and the characters are all going around the map and you can kind of set up scenarios and then watch the AIs, like, interact with each other and make an episode out of it? Well, so coming back and looking at this, even though, like, we completely flipped around and have kind of come back to where we were before the open, at least in ZN, that is not what happened in ZB. And so overall, the yield curve has steepened a little bit, and that steepener has held. And so again, I say it seems to me that steepening is like people preparing for a recession. Once I start to see too much steepening in the yield curve, that's the market thinking that there's a recession coming. That's when you really got to when it's really worth being cautious, let's say. Yo, what's up? Wait, what are you talking about? What do you mean, what's up? You didn't go anywhere. Did I, like, blank out again? You wonder always. I must not have gotten a good night's rest because I just do not feel 100% today, man. I mean, I made one good trade. I'm grateful for that, but I think that my I think I was a little behind the curve today on this whole move. And I'm pausing a little bit more than usual. Something's not right. I kind of knew from the beginning, because like I'm in the shower and then like, you know, I'm almost ready to get out, and then I turn the water off and I get out and I'm like, wait, there was a period between when I decided it was almost time to get out and when I get out, and I don't remember what happened there, and that feels like I lost some time there. You know, like the aliens came and abducted me at that point or something. Some of that order out there makes me incredibly suspicious for sure. I definitely need to be really careful. I've felt like for the past few weeks that I've had a lot more trades than usual where the market kind of is fighting me, and I've been able to weather it okay. But I really need to be sure that like I really have a strong flow going my way and the timing right when I take these, because it does kind of feel like that there's some predatory things going on out there, more so than there was like, say, 6 months ago. So you're trying to, so I'm not trying to trade the yield curve per se. Every time that I've tried to make a play in that respect, it doesn't work out. But I'm just using the yield curve as a possible indicator to be able to try and explain why the flows came out the way that they did. What might be the reasoning behind those orders, right? Well, let's watch on non-farms. Do we see an order like that after non-farms? This is one that it's like, if the CFTC doesn't investigate that order, then what are they even there for? You know? Well, still kind of sitting at the same spot it was. I mean, it's come back, but... Now I'm yawning. That really must mean that I didn't get enough sleep last night. Wow, Trump has paid $20 million in legal fees. That's crazy. Sleep is overrated. No, it's not. If anything, it's underrated in our society. This isn't good because my Lialda medication, like I ordered it yesterday. I don't know when it's gonna come, and it might take a week for it to get to me. So I'm probably gonna be a little bit like low energy. You know, I've been like that before, so going into that with me feeling like I had a bad day today for whatever reason. I mean, I'm grateful that on a bad day today I made money, right? What does that put me at, by the way? Okay. But it's possible to hedge a treasury position with the position. Yeah. Well, so, Tariq, if I was going to place one of those, what I would be doing is, like, if I was going to place a steepener trade, then what I would do is I would buy 30-year and sell the 10-year, right? The opposite of what I do over here, where I buy the 10-year and sell the 30-year. That's a steepener. Problem, though, is most of the time the yield curve flattens. Yeah, it's fine. I'll be fine, and then we just go to bed early tonight. I'm browsing around looking for anything else interesting going on here. Let's just check Zero Hedge again, see if there was a follow-up story. Okay, those enthralled by the narrative that AI will cause a margin-busting corporate revolution as millions of well-paid middle management employees are replaced by a cheap BSing AI algo, then today's latest JOLTS report may come as a bigger shock than the big drop in job openings from 1 month ago. That's because after unexpectedly dumping by 496,000 in May, the BLS just reported that in June, the number of job openings was practically unchanged, dropping by just 34,000 from a downward revised 906.16 million. And while the monthly change was modest after the downward revision, of course, the total was dragged to the lowest level. You know what? I haven't even talked about that one, right? Have I? Job openings was 9.582 versus 9.6. I don't know how much that would play into it or if that would change the trade at all. Do you consider the current inverse yield curve as a strong indicator for a recession, or what are your thoughts about that? Okay, so I think that the conventional wisdom about the yield curve flattening means or being inverted means that a recession is near is not likely to be a very effective indicator in this environment. And you can see all of these people that said that we were going to go into a recession last year because of the inverted yield curve, right, are still waiting for it. So when the yield curve steepens back out, that's when it's right. Because the reason it starts steepening back out is because like the crisis is happening at that point, right? So that's kind of a more effective kind of indication. And you'll get false starts on that one. So yeah, I think that when you've had, I mean, like, look, though everything that we kind of know about interest rates has kind of changed to some extent, right? Like, tightening interest rates has not really tightened financial conditions for companies very much because they had already taken on so much debt during the pandemic. And it was all cheap. They have all the money that they need. And so the higher rates don't really affect them. even as the number of job openings dropped only modestly from the downward revised print for May, conflicting data remained, and in June, the number of people quitting their jobs, an indicator traditionally associated with the labor market strength as it shows workers are confident they can find better wages elsewhere, unexpectedly tumbled by 295,000, the biggest monthly drop since May of 2021. Number of quits decreased in several industries. Yeah. But Zero Hedge is still on this, like, nothing about the Biden administration is numbers are good. They're all lies, which I'm kind of like, I guess it's still kind of in the place where, like, all of the numbers that you do get seems like don't make sense, you know? So there's ZB pushing to new lows now, but it's time for me to go. So interesting day. I'm going to be a little cautious tomorrow because of it. But I still made money, so I should be proud of that, right? Anyways, I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, I gotta go. Stay excellent.